are moments away from kickoff between St George City and the Western Sydney Wanderers in round 12 of NPL New South Wales men's first grade tonight here at Penshurst Park. The teams are in, the players are back into the tunnel, and we've got kickoff shortly. Welcome to Penshurst Park, where St George City return home, looking to make it 2 straight wins for the first time in 2025. They take on a Western Sydney Wanderers side who were taught a lesson last week by Rockdale in an 8-1 rout. As we approach the halfway point of the season, St George are in the bottom half, while the Wanderers are in the relegation zone, so wins are crucial. I'm Tony Solano. It's great to have your company on the NPL New South Wales YouTube channel for the live stream of this round 12 men's first grade fixture. Referees tonight, Jake Rose, his assistant Ethan Zavagulus, and Blake Eastwood. The fourth official is Glenn Stubbins. Both captains in the middle, Tariq Erkan for St George City and Aidan Simmons, the captain for the Western Sydney Wanderers. Players going through their last formalities. Both teams will be looking for a win to try and get out of that logjam. A lot of teams in and around the same position on the table. But St George City will definitely see this as a game that can help propel them towards the top half of the table. For the Wanderers, as I mentioned, they lost 8-1 last week, but they had a player sent off early in the second half, which made things really difficult, of course, when you're trying to mark Alek Udalshevsky from Rockdale. The coaching staff will be very interested to see how some of these young Wanderers respond under pressure after a poor result, trying to find their way in this league. We'll bring those teams to you very shortly. Mark McNulty waving to the camera. Had a great game last week, 2 goals from him. Away from home to the Sharks. I'm sure the fans tonight will hope he replicates that effort tonight. The Wanderers standing over the ball, ready to get us underway here in Penshurst Park. We're going to be last week behind them. There is referee Rose's whistle. Tried something different, but St George straight away intercept possession. Weren't going to take a fast one being put over them. So those teams tonight. For St George City, number 1, Jack Kenny, the goalkeeper. 2, Matthew Wabe. 6, Tariq Erkan, the captain. 7, Nathan Roberts. 9 is Mark McNulty. 10 is Paulo Mitri. Fumoto Kamara in jersey 11. Noah Ovens in 17. Goncalo Grelos in jersey 18. Dakota Askew 23. Brody Clarkson 25. It's the same starting 11. that won last week, and they've got a free kick here early, the home side. Their bench, Kai Kamikura, Cameron Kemp, the backup goalkeeper, Will Kunis, Louis Curry, and Jesse Foti. They're coached by James Spanaldakis. The home side settling to their work, knocking it around. Kamada, he'll be a key conduit tonight. Dispossessed, and off go the young Wanderers. Early chance here for Abdul Rahman, and almost nails it. Not too far away, a warning shot for St George City. Wanderers very dangerous on the counter. Could have easily been 1-0. Edmund Haddad from the corner flag. Delivers deep off the body of a Wanderer. And the last touch off the away side, as adjudicated by referee Rose. It'll be a goal kick for the Wanderers tonight. Lucas Sinot, the goalkeeper, Ricky Franson, Lachlan Tilt, Alat Abdulrahman, who we've spoken about already, Edmund Haddad, Khan Nizam, Awan Lowell, Hayden Simmons, the captain, Saxon Hillier, Miliwethu Nkomo. On the bench, Riley Hollingdale, Nicholas Badalotto, Tristan Arante, Anton Barbic, and Noah Peacock. They are coached by Richie Cardozo. So free kick for St George City. Dangerous position. See if they can loop one up there. Try and find one of their chasers. First real sight on goal for St George City. Delivered to the chasers. Off bodies and behind. It'll be a corner. The Wanderers not convincing inside their box, but do well enough to keep St George City at bay. But for how long? Opening minutes, no score here at Penshurst Park. Paolo Mitri to deliver the corner. Goes deep, headed away by the Wanderers. Control from Roberts, but eventually cleared by Luau. Turning around, Wabe. Plays it inside, McNulty. Agrelos, they were appealing for a handball. Mitri plays Roberts, first time, tries to curl it. Safekeeping for Lucas Sinot. The Wanderers, of course, last week, that 8-1 loss to Rockdale. Nathan Barry, the defender, sent off in the 47th minute. So very tough against Rockdale with less men. St George City played Rockdale on the opening day, a 2-2 draw. So good result for the home side. It's been mixed results since then. Only the 3 games they've won this year. Last week, of course, a 3-0 victory against the Sutherland Sharks away from home. So important when you can get away victories. Long ball forward and wide. Simmons on the chase. Hayden Simmons. Plays Haddad. Luau. Can't quite get that one through. Kenny. Launches it long. That'll be a throw for the Wanderers. The Wanderers tasted victory twice this year. 2-0 victory against Manly in round 10. And a 1-0 victory against Sydney Olympic. Earlier in the year. But the Wanderers this week had 3 points deducted. So originally we're on 8 points, now back down to 5. Not complying with the application process for 2025. So they, Sydney Olympic and the Newcastle Jets, penalised for those efforts. But we play on. St George with the ball at their feet. Ovens. Kamada bends one into the box. Roberts propels it forward again. Clarkson. Roberts looks up. The side's on Kamada. Leading goal scorer with 4 goals for St George City in season 2025. Ball knocked wide. Options in the middle for Askew. Nice move by Askew. Drills it low. Off McNulty, but it'll be a goal kick. Mark McNulty scored a wonderful goal to open the scoring last week against the Sutherland Sharks. A beautiful flick on. Home side, look to see if he can replicate that. And quickly, Lual. Flag goes up from the assistant referee, so offside. But in transition, they're so quick, the Wanderers. St George City defenders will have to watch out for that. Play the offside trap at your own peril. Earlier today, an NPL New South Wales result. Northwest Sydney Spirit, a 2-2 draw against the St George Saints from up the road at Barton Park. So Spirit FC, after a couple of losses, able to find a result. Opening minutes here at Penshurst Park, no score. McNulty turns it over. Nkomo heads forward, trying to tee up Lual. It's pushed wide, Nkomo. Overnight, Sydney FC Academy defeating the Sutherland Sharks 2-0. So Sydney FC heading towards that top half. Tomorrow's action, match of the round, the Derby d'Italia. Arpia at home against the Marconi Stallions. Marconi undefeated, but Arpia always a challenge at home. Wollongong take on the Mount Druitt Rangers. Central Coast Mariners in Rockdale. Blacktown City take on Sydney United. And Sydney Olympic take on Manly. So big day of NPL men's football tomorrow. Neat pass. Releases Kamada. Simmons chasing. Heavy touch from Kamada. He's claiming a corner, but it'll be a goal kick. Last touch off Kamada. Very dangerous for St George City this year. Not. Wanderers happy to play out from the back. Hillier. That's a strong challenge, and the referee blows a free kick. Looks sensational, but they want to go quickly, but the referee just holding up play. Saxon Hillier still down. Former Manly United player, came over to the Wanderers Academy this season. Referee Rose goes over to check on the midfielder. Hillier gets to his feet, but we'll head towards the touchline for further assistance. Clearing the way for the Wanderers to get us restarted again. 11 minutes into this game, no score between St George City and the Western Sydney Wanderers. Simot, the goalkeeper. Ricky Franson, who didn't start last week, getting the defending job today. Nice move through the middle. Haddad trying to find Lawal. It'll eventually get to the striker. And now behind, players positioning for a corner. So the Wanderers so quickly able to get it through midfield and venture forward. St George City appear like they're going to be dominating much of the possession. Wanderers happy to play in transition. Try and catch out St George City at set pieces like this one. Bent towards the back post. Header from Tilt. Kamara turns it over. Tilt bends it to the back post. So George City eventually clear. Chance here. Franson caught out. McNulty was offside, according to the assistant referee. Mark McNulty, the Scotsman. Spent time at Sheffield United, Portsmouth and Sunderland in the English Premier League academies. Trying to use that experience. These young defenders will learn a lot from him. Some of the runs that he makes. Simmons, the right wing back. Lawal, one touch. The chest of Haddad. Falls at the pass of Nizam. Nice turn from Nizam. Shot blocked. Can't quite keep it in. Julian Kopp. Jack Kenny, his ball can't find his defender. So it'll be a Wanderers throw. Look very energetic tonight, very enthusiastic, the Wanderers. Keen to get a result here tonight. As are St George City. Challenge waved away. Goal kick coming to St George City. Form line for St George City. 2 games unbeaten. Win obviously last week and then a draw a couple of weeks ago against Sydney Olympic. So looking to continue that trend, try and find their way up the ladder. The Wanderers just the 1 win in their last 5. Throw won by St George City. Wabi. It's a long throw. George City putting it into a dangerous area. Roberts contesting it, but the numbers game from the young Wanderers. Simmons. Haddad, now Simmons again, the captain stepping up. Space for the Wanderers. Haddad heading forward into the box, getting it on that left. And now shot second time around. Good keeping by Jack Kenny. Keeping these young Wanderers at bay. 15 minutes into the game. They don't need much, the visitors. Seem to have shaken off last week's results. Keen to go again. Clarkson. Switch from Clarkson, looking for Askew. Lays at his feet. Ball chipped forward. Striker's not quite ready for that one. Lachlan Tilt looking forward. Long ball. Can't quite find the while. Clarkson was fouled, according to the referee. The defensive midfielder with his back turned. Tarek Erkan back in the side. Missed much of the first part of the campaign. Looking more short up defensively. Askew finds the captain again. Up the line they play. Wabi bending a ball nicely. Headed away momentarily. The volley, Ovens catches it okay. No handball by Roberts. We play on. Mitri this time. Over the crossbar. It's away it goes. Cries of handball. Pass picks out Simmons. Sinot. Now Franson. Trying to play around. St George City side. Not proving too effective just yet. Khan. Askew. One-touch football from St George City. Nice ball forward, looking for McNulty. Tilt shadows it, but falls for Kamara. Here comes St George City. Roberts plays Kamara. Look to cut inside. But Simmons has the answer. Lawal gets in front. And he's fouled. We're looking at the first booking of the night. Appears to be Tarek Erkan, the captain, in the book. Lawan Lawal coming to be treated. Fell awkwardly. Lawal originally from South Sudan. Or moving to Australia. He's playing in the Blacktown Spartan system before being picked up by the Western Sydney Wanderers Academy. Small delays giving both teams a chance to regroup and refocus. It's a good time as well, 20 minutes into the game. As they settle. Of course, earlier today, 2-2 draw between Northwest Sydney Spirit and the St George Saints over at Macquarie Park, Christie Park, the Arctic Circle. hasn't reached its coldest just yet this year. I'm sure as we approach the winter months in June and July, it'll be a very tough place to play for those teams who travel. Sydney FC, a 2-0 victory yesterday against the Sutherland Sharks. That's the opposition St George City beat last week. Luau being helped towards the touchline. Appears we're going to be primed for a substitution. First of the night on 21 minutes. Wanderers player running onto the field now, so that's Luau done for this game. Appears to be Nicholas Badalato who's come onto the field. Just get that confirmed. And it is Nicholas Badalato, brother of Alex Badalato, who's also part of the Western Sydney Wanderers Academy. So younger brother Nick getting the chance to show what he can do relatively early in this game. Franson. Hillier. Into the centre circle. Tilt, one touch. Simmons holding it up. Roberts winning the ball. So George City win the throw. Nice turn, Mitri. Originally wanted McNulty, but finds Roberts instead. Sinot. Brave playing inside the box like that, the Wanderers. And Gomo at left back, he's very quick. Something for St George City to watch as they venture forward, the Wanderers. Force for Nkomo again. Space wide as Simmons comes forward. Tilt, the tall defender. Playing Batalato. One of his first touches. Roberts. Plays Kamada. Ends the ball towards the back post. Falls for McNulty. Knocks it back to one of his players. Looking in the middle. Mitri first time. Can't quite bring it down. Just going to confirm that player, the substitution, that's Noah Peacock in 38. Not jersey 8, 38. On for Awan Luau, who's succumbed to injury in the 20th minute. So Noah Peacock out there, former Northwest Sydney Spirit player. Good result for the Wanderers senior team earlier in the A-League. Wanderers a 1-0 victory over the Newcastle Jets, which pretty much cements their spot in the finals in the coming weeks. Goal to Zach Sapsford in the 57th minute. Wasn't too long ago Zach was playing his trade here in NPL New South Wales. So the path and the journey is pretty clear for these academy sides, Wanderers included. Who knows in the next 2 or 3 years where some of these careers will go. These Wanderers players, of course, all very technically gifted. A lot of potential. But, of course, playing in this competition, stronger, grown men. They were cut out for them, but they do really well. Ball forward, Roberts will be first to it. Can't get a good connection on the ball, and it rolls into the grasp of Sinot. Switch wide by Kopp. You throw for the Wanderers. So quickly they're able to get from one side of the field to the other. The Nkoma with the throw. Hayden Simmons loads up. It's a good strike, but Jack Kenny fisted away. Hayden Simmons took the odds to it, just outside the box, got good power, but good goalkeeping by Kenny. So has to be up and about for the corner. The danger not evaded. Delivery bending, but great take by Kenny. Back-to-back efforts from the goalkeeper. Still no score here at Penshurst Park as we approach the half-hour mark. Clarkson. A couple of good opportunities, but nothing really clear-cut. Paolo Mitri's had a few chances, and just recently, Hayden Simmons as well. Kamada calls his defender out of it. Peacock looking to press. Askew up the line. Looking in midfield. 1-2. Eventually a cross in. Headed away by Franson. St George City tried to keep that alive, but it'll be a throw for the Wanderers. So the Wanderers record 2 wins, 2 draws and 7 losses. Negative 18 goal difference. And that's proving to be the problem this year for the Wanderers. Second most goals conceded with 26. Central Coast Mariners, the only team with more goals conceded, have conceded 27. But the Wanderers have also scored the least amount of goals with 8. So that's an area they need to improve. 8 goals from their 11 games. St George this time. Floating a ball over the top. Able to eventually pick it up. Sinot clutching his head. Roberts appealing to the referee. There was no malice action. So watch what comes of this. The Wanderers all appealing. He may have trod on his head. Roberts just reasoning with Haddad, the midfielder from the Wanderers. Of course, the Wanderers already the one substitution tonight. Lawal off the field, but good to see their goalkeeper back to his feet. Yeah, Roberts with the customary handshake, so we're good. Franson finds Simmons, able to keep it in and keep his ball. That's well done. And wins the free kick. Julia finds Nkomo. Lachlan Tilt, the right back for the Western Sydney Wanderers. Slowing things down a bit. Haddad. Turns it over. Mitri. Players falling to their feet, trying to gain some control. Up the line from Kamada. So George win the free kick. Kamada was making a run. Another throw for St George City. Looking to make it back-to-back wins for the first time in 2025. So originally going to be a throw-in, but now still going to go with the throw. And Peacock finds himself on the ground. Happened fairly innocuously. Noah Ovens appealing to the referee. There was nothing in what appeared to be a shove. So Peacock just clutching his head. So we resume with a throw to the Wanderers. Abdul Rahman. And Peacock pressing hard, unable to get the ball. Kamada throws back to Erkan. Askew switches for Kamada. Cutting inside and playing square. Clarkson finds the feet of McNulty. But Frunson up to the task. The defender now starting the counter-attack. Here he goes, Frunson. Tilt. Nice turn, Simmons. Kept that one in for a moment, but it's going to be a throw to St George City. Erkan finds Roberts. Plays wide to Kamada. Roberts again. Look, great nutmeg. Looking for Kamada, but it was a push in the back. Kamada not happy about that decision. Thought it was jostling for position, but the referee saw it as otherwise. And Como flicks it on. Nizam watching the ball shielded behind him. A throw for St George City. This game being played between both 18-yard boxes. No one really getting a chance to penetrate inside the 18-yard box. 10 minutes from half-time. Long throw. Nkomo, now Hillier. 2-on-1. And now a free kick. Being actioned by the assistant referee. Trying to get the attention of main referee Jake Rose. Free kick one for the Wanderers. Here we are. Nkomo making a run. Doesn't decide to use him though. Now turned over in possession. Roberts. McNulty. Clarkson. Mitri threads the needle. Can't quite get to his attacker, so it'll be a throw. Of course, the Australian Cup currently going on, the knockout competition across Australia. St George City unfortunately knocked out by Rockdale in round 4. We're up to round 5. And the Wanderers don't come in until the round of 32, the A-League team. I'm sure we'll see a couple of these players feature as the rounds progress. A couple of upsets, a big upset. Manly United defeated by Hills. St George watched that ball go behind. 4-0, Hills United defeated Manly United. Marconi a 4-1 win against Prospect United. Rockdale 6-0 against fellow NPL side, the Sutherland Sharks. SD Raiders 2-1 victory over the Wollongong Wolves. So a couple of lower tier NPL sides getting the victory over men's first grade. Big victory for Blacktown City yesterday, 7-0 against Gymea. Long goal kick by Kenny. A throw for St George City. They'd love to jag one before half-time. Had the weight of possession, St George City. And the field position. Just haven't got that first goal yet. Dangerous ball floated in. But never on target, so it'll be a goal kick. Most dangerous when they're coming in from the left. And Kamada's boot, when he's interchange of passing with Roberts. They've had some success there. I'm sure Coach Spanaldakis will be reading his message for his troops as we approach the break. Peacock got possession but couldn't keep the ball in, so it'll be another throw to St George City. St George City do well to get out of trouble. See the space left. Not enough angle on that switch. Franson. Corp couldn't quite find Haddad. Now Clarkson. Releases wide. McNulty dropping in. Urkan. Straight through the middle. McNulty plays wide. Here comes Kamada. Opportunity here for St George. Threat wasn't dealt with originally. But Sinot eventually takes it. A Wanderers player left on the ground. We play on. Wanderers in transition, head forward. It's been a long run made. And Kenny puts it out of play. Almost. Ball with the Wanderers now. And they've won the free kick too. So a set piece for the away side. This will give them confidence to see if they can take the lead just before half time. Plenty to pick from in the middle. Noah Peacock, Ricky Franson also coming into the box. Trying to shape one to get it onto the head of one of those chasers. Wanderers from the free kick. Bends towards the chasers. A connection, but not on targets. Appeared to be Ricky Franson. Referee just trying to push along St George City. All this extra time will be added to the injury time before the break. 45 plus how much more? Throw one by St George City. Noah Ovens. I'm sure the Western Sydney Wanderers know a lot now about his brother Bray Ovens. It's outstanding against Rockdale. And Como shadowing that ball behind for a goal kick. Bray Ovens with 2 goals for Rockdale in last week's big results against the Western Sydney Wanderers. Noel Ovens in defence, so I dare say we won't see that from him, but who knows? Dangerous ball. Falls at the feet of Abdul Rahman. Here he is again, Abdul Rahman. And Como, first time cross into the middle. Hillier. And Como delivers into the middle. Awkward ball. Almost fell for Peacock. But headed away by St George City. Safely into the clutches of Jack Kenny. Last minute of normal time in this first half. No score between St George City and the Western Sydney Wanderers. Franson, not his best header tonight. And Como has to pick up the scraps. Wanderers venture forward. Haddad. Hillier. Now Peacock. Tries to bring that one down. Was that a high boot? Referee says that's okay. Roberts keeps it in. Clarkson sends it forward for Roberts. Simmons, nice move from Aiden Simmons through midfield. Forward goes Aiden Simmons. Finds a pass. Abdul Rahman. Now Haddad. Floating along the 18-yard box. The young Wanderers. And Como bends one towards Haddad. Just doesn't have the power. Jack Kenny sending everybody forward. High ball. Bouncing into the night sky. Franson and tilt. Centre halves for the Wanderers tonight. Been solid down back. No goals conceded from either side. And Gomer on halfway. Nice flick on. But Noah Peacock getting there a little bit late. And that is the halftime whistle here at Penshurst Park. Still a stalemate at halftime. St George City 0, Western Sydney Wanderers 0. Few opportunities, but nothing really dangerous to speak of for both sides. Paulo Mitri got close for St George City, as did Aiden Simmons in that first half. But we are, as we started, no score here at Penshurst Park. Join us back in about 10 minutes' time for all the second half action. The home side looking to make it 2 straight wins. The Wanderers looking to get back in the winner's circle. We're just about ready to go for the second stanza here at Penshurst Park. At the break, St George City 0, Western Sydney Wanderers 0. A few close shaves and a few chances unable to be capitalised on by either side. So it'll be interesting to see how this second 45 minutes plays out. St George City chasing 2 wins in a row for the first time this year. The Wanderers have already put a big loss behind them. To see if they can jag a win away from home. Both these teams in the bottom half, so really need these 3 points to kickstart their season again. It's St George's Mark McNulty with the ball at his feet. And the referee's whistle. We're underway for the second half. St George City to go again in front of their home fans. Turned out quite well tonight. Saturday evening here in Hurstville. Long ball forward. Second ball, one in midfield. It's fallen for the Wanderers and Noah Peacock. First free kick of the second half going the way of St George City. Dakota Askew at right back. Nice turn by Mitri. Couldn't quite feed Roberts though. Haddad beaten into the punch. And now it's a Wanderers ball. Nizam looking up and now finding Abdul Rahman. Peacock should have shot, left it for another player, and St George City are able to remove the attack. Now it's St George City's turn. End-to-end football. McNulty turns. Referee happy with the contact. Everybody stopped because they thought it was going to be a free kick. But not referee Jake Rose. Abdul Rahman. Clarkson plays for Kamada. Askew. Awabi. Looking up. Looking for a pass. Matthew Awabi. Goncalo Ogrelos is out there. Change at half-time. Here he is with the ball. Trying to make an impact straight away. It's a nice ball for McNulty. Nice turn. Chips it to the back post. Still falls for St George. Drills it into the middle. And just wide. That really should have opened the scoring. But not quite to be for St George City. Most threatening attempt for quite some time. Big hush from the crowd. Eagerly awaiting that first goal. Clarkson drills it back to Askew. St George City in the red, Wanderers in the white. Here goes Nkomo. Heading towards the box. Fires. But never really on target. The left wing back. He's got pace and he's got a strong shot. If he puts it together, could be danger for the home side. Khan looking for Wabi. Nice use of the body. Matthew Wabi. Up the line. Now Grelos. Plays central. And dispossessed. Good defending by the Wanderers. Nizam. Switch of play. Haddad drops it back in. Brunson, man on. They did well there, the Wanderers, for Hillier. Wanderers player down, which means they knocked it into touch. It's Noah Peacock again. Wanderers player on the touchline if a substitution is needed. Again, the players break into groups. Discuss how the first 5 minutes of this second half has played out. Again, a couple more chances. Of course, earlier today in NPL, New South Wales men's football, 2-2 draw between Northwest Sydney Spirit FC and the St George Saints. Player coming to the touchline for the Wanderers. And Como wins the header. Nizam wasn't fouled. We play on. Wabi curls one into the path almost of Mitri. Now Haddad controlling things in midfield for the young Wanderers. Abdurrahman overlapping in Como, sliding through Wabi. Came through Rockdale under 20 system with our premiers. Como, neat pass. Abdurrahman. Ball chipped into the middle, taken safely by Kenny. Second ball won by St George City. Ball almost won by the Wanderers, but recovered well by St George City. Askew's turn. Wabi, neat pass. Agrelos, the intensity stepped up since he's got out there. Wabi to the back post, headed by McNulty. Safekeeping by Sinot. Wanderers goalkeeper able to deal with that one. Nizam. Opportunity here for the Wanderers! Great parry from Kenny. How was that not 1-0? Fantastic strike. But still, no goals. May well have been the left boot of Haddad. Corner deep. The corner is the adjudication. Another set piece for the Wanderers. What can they deliver? Bending and almost finding the top corner. Kenny claiming he didn't touch it, but the referee not buying it. Another corner. So 3 corners in a row here for the Wanderers. Are they going to change it up, or are they going to keep going and bending towards the back post? Nobody really presenting for a short corner. So it appears to be much of the same. Delivered back stick. Franson didn't get the best connection, as did Tilt. Lead to safety by St. George. Franson drops back. Contact wave away, but it's on here for St. George City. Neat ball in behind. And the Wanderers defence negotiates that one well. We approach the hour mark here at Penshurst Park. Franson along the carpet. Haddad gets the ball back. Edmund Haddad. Nizam. It's a leg of a St. George City player. Next week for St. George, back here again at Penshurst Park. They take on the Central Coast Mariners, another academy club. Before in 2 weeks' time, they take on Apia Leichhardt. Apia have a big game tomorrow against the Marconi Stallions, our match of the round. So we head to the substitutions bench. St. George City, Nathan Roberts making way. Appears to be Palomitri also coming off. No. So Curie and Foti on. Just flick over their head. Ovens tried to get in front. He'll provide the throw. So 2 substitutions for St. George City. Just the one for the Wanderers so far. They had to replace Lual in the 20th minute. Nizam. So that's a good things in midfield. He's turned it over there. Mitri. Now Wabi. Curry. His back turned, a neat pass by the midfielder. Fresh legs. Driven but deflected that ball. Alomitri decided to drive it low this time. That'll be a corner. Another corner for City. Is this the one to break the deadlock? On the hour mark. Delivered deep over the head. And behind, it'll be a goal kick. So no real threat from that ensuing corner. Sinot launches long. Wabi's ball intercepted. Here go the Wanderers. Nizam. Now Abdul Rahman getting into the box, squaring it up. But couldn't complete it. Noah Peacock. Got a leg to it, just not quite online. Nice turn. St George City, a space on the right. Wabi has time. Looking up, waiting for troops to arrive. Matthew Wabi plays a neat ball in. Innovative, but not quite to the player. Como. Haddad, his ball intercepted. They're seizing upon it now, St George. St George City win the throw. Controlling much of that possession. The Wanderers priming themselves for a substitution. A couple, in fact. Nizam and Peacock coming off the ground. Hollingdale, one of the players coming onto the field. It's a free kick. Curry hasn't been on the field long, but a yellow card for the midfielder. Tilt just having a look at his teammate. Been quite a physical game, plenty of stoppages. Two players in the book, the other in the first half, the captain, Tarek Erkan, so receiving a yellow card. But Abdul Rahman in the seated position now, getting treated. And he's back to his feet. Getting back into that forward line. And here is the substitution. Franson. Nice turn from Kopp. Simmons. Opportunity for Hollingdale. Plays him Gomo wide. Cutting in. And that shot was blocked, so it'll be a corner. Nice defending by Matthew Wabe. Nicholas Batalato to provide the corner. See if he can land it on one of the heads. those Wanderers in the box. Badalato goes deep over the head of Franson and beats everybody over the byline. Goal kick. Long looking for McNulty. Header. And it's in the goal, so it's an own goal. Not the way the home fans wanted it, but they'll take it. And a disastrous header into the back of their own nets. McNulty was chasing. He couldn't believe his luck. 1-0 to St. George City. Miscommunication down back. And it's an own goal. Hit it with such conviction that Sinot is caught off guard. And St. George City have the lead. Big gasp from the crowd. So 1-0 after 65 minutes. The Wanderers got to try and get that goal back. Long from Kenny. Nice turn by McNulty. His plays in the middle. Curry. Plenty of space. They can go to the right. Curry. Mitri. Lost it in possession. Hollingdale. Now Franson. Not a nice feeling when you've scored an own goal. Heavy touch from Franson, but he was able to win the ball. Heading over halfway, the defender. Late pass and a nice turn. Couldn't quite find Julian Kopp. And Como, always keen to launch an attack. Badalato. Hillier. On that touchline. Kamara decides to keep that one in. That was dangerous. But eventually lets it roll past the byline. Goal kick. For the Western Sydney Wanderers, they're back home next week. Wanderers Football Park. They take on Blacktown City. Be at home. Followed by the St. George Saints away from home. It'll be at Barton Park. And then an academy derby with the Central Coast Mariners away. That'll be a very important 3 points. Those two teams in the relegation zone. The Wanderers and the Central Coast Mariners. Substitution time again for St. George City. More reinforcements coming. They have the 1-goal advantage. Do they sit on it, or do they go for the second and the jugular? Burkhan coming off. So Nathan Grimaldi up there. Some great things in the A-League, but also Sydney FC Academy and also Sutherland Sharks. They've been in this league for a while. Nathan Grimaldi, very experienced defender. Sinot looking deep for an option. Hollingdale chasing, but it's forward for St George City. McNulty. What is St George City cooking here? "20 minutes from home, St George City 1-0 up. An own goal a short time ago. Clarkson. Not strong enough with the pass, Foti. And Gomo. Now Franzen. Baralato. Finds Hollingdale in midfield. Hillier. Badalato. Well measured pass. St George City seeing a little deeper. Behind the ball, they have the 1-goal advantage. Hollingdale thought about a cross. Need Dinkin behind. Simmons. Hollingdale again. And now the assistant referee seen an infringement. Already went behind. And a yellow card against Noah Peacock. Had a little bit too much to say. Referee Rose wasn't having any of that. Kenny fires long this time. Looking for McNulty. He's been instrumental in holding the ball up and distributing. Grimaldi thought about the Wabi pass. Askew. Askew looking for an option. Mitru presented. Was given a free kick. Tug of the jersey by Franzen. Kopp. Trying to generate something for the Wanderers. St George City would love another clean sheet for their efforts. Been pretty good in that department this year. Long throw. Peacock on the chase, but shielded nicely. And out of play, another throw for the Wanderers. Looking for a chink in this St George City defence. Hayden Simmons. Badalato. And now St George City in transition. Trying to hit the Wanderers on the counter. Here they come. Wabi played wide. Waiting for his troops to arrive, Matthew Wabi. Taken on Nkomo. Wabi! Just over the top. Not too far away either. Could have doubled their advantage. So got a good side on goal. The right back. You feel if they could get a second goal, St George City, that might be too many for the young Wanderers. Hollingdale winning the ball nicely and getting it back in the centre circle. Abdul Rahman, well composed. Abdul Rahman plays central, but Hollingdale dispossessed at the last minute. Both these teams pretty quick in their transition, so always a threat for the opposition. Hillier tried to find his captain Simmons. That's just a little bit too long. More substitutes incoming. This time for the Wanderers. Hillier making way. New players taking up a position. That header almost over the fence into the car park. A header with intent. So 15 minutes of normal time remaining. St George City with a 1-0 advantage. Players hacking in midfield. Wabi. Franson. All the way back to Sinot, who's out of his box. And here's Barbic out there. Up the line, the Wanderers play. Throw to come for St George City. Another St George substitution. St George City through Matthew Wabi. Askew switches. Kamikura chasing down that ball. Here he is again. But Barbic back in defence. Keeping him at bay. So a couple of the substitutes getting involved for both sides. That right-hand channel proving really effective for St George City in the second half. Adelato able to squeeze a pass through there, as was Hollingdale. Tilt. Mitri in midfield. Couldn't win the ball. Hollingdale over halfway. Louis Curry wins the ball for his team. Mitri wins the free kick. And a yellow card for Aiden Simmons. Aiden Simmons tried his heart out for the Western Sydney Wanderers. Handball from St George City. St George City were to win tonight, they would jump up to 12th. 1 point behind a stack of teams. Manly United, Sydney FC, and of course the St George Saints. I'm sure St George City would love nothing more than to finish above their neighbours again in season 2025. St George FC, who got the bragging rights in the derby a few weeks ago. Jesse Foti released. Foti scored a great goal last week, similar to this. Jesse Foti couldn't quite find McNulty. And Kamada and overran it as well. For the Wanderers, they'd be stuck on 5 with the Central Coast Mariners. Here comes Kamada again. Dakota Askew just arguing with the referee. It was McNulty, in fact. Into the final 10 minutes. Wanderers, can they get something from this game? Been a much improved performance, but truth be told, they weren't down to 10 for the second half. Badalato. Doraman. Nkomo. One touch. Mitri. McNulty wanted to find Kamada. Long throw to halfway. Louis Curry trying to squeeze through those holes. Looking up. Nkomo looked the most likely for the Wanderers. Puts a ball into the middle. And Noah Peacock fires it at Jack Kenny. So the Wanderers able to get it into the box, but unable to get that goal they seek. Free kick won by the Wanderers. Franson went down, but they want to go quickly, the young Wanderers. Kamada tried to catch the goalkeeper out, thought about it. He's done that before this year, scored a cracker against Manly. To the corner flag we go. .84 minutes gone. A goal here for St George City would all but seal it. The wind begins to pick up. George towards the back post. Header away by Franson. Forti on the chase. Be a throw for the home side. George looking forward. McNulty, they try and keep it in. Askew. Neat pass to find Wabi. Great move on Abdul Rahman. Wabi again. He's been a standout tonight. At the byline, the cross. But can't deliver it into the middle. Of course, the action doesn't stop for the Wanderers. The Wanderers women tomorrow take on the Bulls Academy women in women's NPL football. 5 p.m. at Wanderers Football Park tomorrow. So you can watch that live on the stream, or you can head down to the game. As the rain starts to fall, it's almost like someone flicked a switch. And it started to bucket down. Couldn't have waited for the last 5 minutes of the game. This will add one more layer of entertainment. Curry dancing in the rain. It has been overcast in Sydney for much of today. And only finally the floodgates open. Abdul Rahman appealing for a free kick. Throw, the players are playing quickly now. We're going for a hot shower. Franson, now Como as the rain teams down here at Penshurst Park. Badolato, neat ball in behind. Arate couldn't get to that one. McNulty, he's seen plenty of days like these in his time. Players just got to keep their concentration. 2 minutes from time. St George with the 1-0 lead. Players peel off. Going to sneak a ball in underneath for Forti. Didn't eventuate. George City send the compass back the way they want it to. And just like that, the rain's all but passed. What a frantic 2 minutes. Onkomo over halfway. Abdul Rahman. It's a back from Nkomo again. A nutmeg too. Sinot comes forward. Franson, they need to go quickly here, the Wanderers. They are to rescue points. Switch from Hollingdale. Simmons does well to get ahead on that. And keeps it in. No, he doesn't, according to the assistant referee. So George City will slow this right down as we enter the final minutes of normal time. Kenny bombs it long and strong. Franson wins the header. Drops into midfield for Curry. Enjoy playing down that left-hand channel. St George City through Kamara. And there is normal time elapsed, but we have 4 more remaining. Can St George City seal it? Or can the Wanderers jag something? Abdul Rahman couldn't get that ball. McNulty coming back from an offside position. St George City on the verge of a clean sheet. Mitri, nice bending ball, looking for McNulty. It's just a little bit too heavy. The Wanderers, the urgency is clear. Ball played back into midfield. Hollingdale has space. Releases Nkomo. Here come the Wanderers, one of their last chances. Well defended by Wabi. Clears it, but skews it off the boots. A throw for the Wanderers. Still plenty of time. Based on what they've got for injury time, they're only a minute and a half into the 4 minutes. So still have time to work something, but it needs to work. Badolato, neat pass. Simmons has moved over to the left. Curry. Barbic intercepts that ball. Curry again. No, it's Barbic who wins it. It's been passed back and forward in midfield between the two teams. Kamada pushing the back and a free kick. And that wasn't on the Wanderers player. Dare say he'll go in the book for that. Yellow card. The second yellow turning into a red. So Rarate, he came on in the second half and he's got 2 yellow cards. Means his night is over. Needed a cooler head to prevail there. And so for the second week in a row, even though it's only a minute and a half, the Wanderers will play with 10. Curry. Now the turn. Loads up. Those are tough to keep on surfaces like these, so he's done well, Sinot. Hollingdale. Now Franson. Hollingdale again. Badolato. That ball a bit strong for him. They win the throw, the Wanderers. Hollingdale headers forward. Franson. They need to go forward. Only 25 seconds left. Here it is, the hidden hope. Launching forward off the body of Peacock. Not a bad shot by Barbic. But not there for the Wanderers, and it's again their goal scoring, which is going to cost them tonight. There will now be 8 goals in 12 games. Not going winning games if you're not scoring goals. They're young and there's plenty of talent there. They're all learning together. Kenny for one of the final plays of the game. That's full time and it's a win to St George City. A 1-0 victory over the Western Sydney Wanderers. A tough, gritty performance, but it's the 3 points that they needed. And at full time, They win 2 games in a row for the first time in 2025. Gaining momentum as they try to climb the table in season 2025. They'll bounce into next week against the Central Coast Mariners here at Penshurst Park. For the Western Sydney Wanderers, an improved performance, but still a tough night. A defeat here at Penshurst Park. Next week they go home to take on Blacktown City, a team in quite good form. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage here on the NPL New South Wales live stream of this men's round 12 action between St George City and the Western Sydney Wanderers. At full time, it's the Wanderers 1-0 defeated by St George City after they conceded an own goal. I'm Tony Soleno from everyone here at Football New South Wales and Sportscast. It's bye for now.